How happy are you? Are you really happy? Do you think you could be happier? Are you unintentionally limiting the amount of happiness that you experience? Do you unknowingly think, oh, this is as happy as I can be. I'm entitled to no more. Better put a lid on it. Because you might be doing just that. You might be restricting the amount of good that comes into your life without even realizing it. So hello, if we haven't met before, I'm Kay, I'm a spiritual life coach. Please do take a moment to hit the subscribe button down below along with the bell next to it to be alerted about coming videos. I don't know if any of you ever collected grasshoppers when you were a kid, but here's a phenomenon that will happen with them. If you put grasshoppers in a jar with a lid on it, they will bounce and bounce trying to break through and eventually give up. They will realize that, hey, I just keep hurting myself. Every time I try to push against this barrier, I'm just getting injured and it's painful. I'm just gonna stop trying. And so they continue to bounce, but only to a certain height. And if you keep the grasshoppers in there long enough, but not so long that they end up dead, you could take the lid off the jar and the grasshoppers won't jump out. They've been conditioned to think, oh, that's about as high as I can go. Not gonna try. When in reality, freedom is waiting for them on just one more bounce. So we like to think of ourselves as a hell of a lot more sophisticated and awesome than a grasshopper, but really, how different are we? How often have we been battered down by trying too much, trying too hard? Oh, you should know your place, you should stay in place. And we just learn to give up and stop trying. How many of us have learned to believe that the amount of happiness we're experiencing is finite, that we can only hit a certain threshold, and once we go beyond that, bad things are gonna happen. Oh no, I just got this good thing happen. Well, I better make sure that something bad happens to counter it. Or you have some really good days and you start to think, who am I to be this happy? Who am I to be this lucky? Something bad must be coming, or I'm not entitled to it. How often do we end up limiting our experience of joy because we think we're entitled to less? I mean, just sit with that for a moment. I can tell you throughout my life, I've had friends who come from abusive households and then choose to stay in abusive relationships because they think, well, this is what life is, this is what relationships are, this is ultimately what I think I deserve. And until they consciously sit down and analyze that and break down that thought process with the help of a therapist or a confidant or a friend, they choose to stay. I'm sure you've seen it. You know people in your life who do the same thing. So how likely is it that we do the same? That we believe we're only allowed to be so healthy or so happy or so strong or so vibrant, and then our brain starts shutting us down. I've had something similar happening to me at the gym lately. When I go to do my bench press, I'm totally fine right up until I get to weight 225. I could be at 220, good to go. 225, can't move the bar. Why is that? Well, 225 equals 2 of the big plates on each side. And for much of my life, I thought of that as an impossible demarcation of strength, that only the really strong men were able to do that, and it's something I would never achieve. But lo and behold, here I am super close. And even though physically I know I can move that weight, as soon as I try, my brain freaks out and says, "Ah, you're gonna die!" Who are you to be strong? So what do I have to do? I have to get my husband to come and spot me and put his hands just underneath the bar and show my brain that, hey, yeah, you can lower this and raise this without me helping you, and you're keeping yourself safe. I am actively having to reprogram myself to say, yes, I am allowed to be that strong. And this is a fairly obvious example. The ways in our life that we are limiting our own happiness might not be as obvious. You might find that there are times where you think, oh, I shouldn't go spend time with friends because things are already really good and I don't want to test the waters. Or, oh, I could make that really nice meal I love, but instead I'm just gonna order in some pizza. Or, oh, well, you know, I had this really great success at work, so I'm not gonna push for another promotion or another award because I've taken up all that I'm entitled to. How often do you limit yourself because you think, who am I to be this happy, wealthy, wise, successful, joyful, adored? How many of us stay in unsatisfactory relationships because we believe this is all the goodness, all the kindness, all the love that I'm entitled to? Are you like the little grasshopper bouncing inside a jar with no lid on it because at some point in your past you were told that is all you are worth? Gosh, it's so hard to deprogram that. That's all that you're worth. If you grew up different, you heard that message. If you grew up queer or a minority of some kind or ably challenged, you're You're told that message, subvertly or overtly. You are worth less than other people. You're worth less because you're a woman. You're worth less because you're a person of color. You're worth less because one of your legs don't work. You're worth less because your gender identity doesn't match your sex organs. You're worth less because you love someone of a different gender than your opposite. It's something we hear time and time again, and we have to actively work to change the paradigms because they aren't going to change themselves. And this is why it's so important that we all are engaged in self-work, that we take time regularly to pray and meditate, to listen within, to journal, reflect, to spend time in healing community with others that love us and appreciate us as we are, to give us real validation, to take time to work with therapists and shamans and healers and coaches, to take time to find those people who can make you realize the thoughts and patterns that aren't serving you and give you tools to more abundance, a more free and open and joyful lifestyle. So that's my wish for you today. Can you become more aware of the paradigms that are not serving you, the limiting thoughts that are not serving you, and open up to something so much more? I'm Kay, this is Ecstatic Self. Please, if you love this, check out my new Patreon, patreon.com, Ecstatic Self, where you can go a little deeper in this work alongside a community of people who are doing similar. Get early access to my YouTube vids and exclusive content you won't find elsewhere, in addition to a free copy of my book, Journey to the Ecstatic Self. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. Namaste.